Hey everyone, I'm Tom.
And I'm Kate.
And welcome to another Mondays with the Mortons.
We are still here in sunny Florida, and we're probably going to be here for another couple of weeks.
We've been super busy with all kinds of stuff, but we had a handful of big accomplishments this past week. We finally got our inverter installed on our solar system, so we are officially 100% powered by the sun. It took a lot longer to accomplish than we had planned because we've been so busy, but it's finally done, and you guys should hopefully see some more videos about that in the coming weeks.
Another thing we did this week was not so much an accomplishment, but kind of a fun adventure. We went and explored the Savannah's Preserve State Park, which is just on the other side of the Intercoastal from where we are here in Nettles. We took the dogs and went for a couple-hour hike in the Basin Marsh, and it was really cool to see what this area initially looked like and what the first pioneers probably would have seen when they first came to Florida.
Another thing we've been working on the entire time we've been here in Florida, actually, but a lot in the past week, has been around a health issue that I've been experiencing for actually over a year now. I don't like to talk about health, so we haven't shared this with you guys in the past. It's a lot of the reason we're spending a lot of time here in Florida is we're trying to figure this out. I've had a upper abdominal pain, a pretty intense pain that has kind of come and gone for over a year now, and it's really impacted my quality of life and really started to become a serious burden on both of us. We've been trying to figure out what it is, what's going on while we're traveling, which has been kind of difficult, and that is what the topic of today's video is about.
Yeah, we really wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about our experiences with healthcare as we've traveled for the past 2.5 years. Kind of the ups and downs, things, well, mostly down. Some of the things that we've learned that maybe you guys can utilize. But, we always get the question, what about health on the road? What if something happens? And in our case, something did.
So to share just a little bit more what's going on with me, basically I have this really high abdominal pain that sometimes is just like kind of a dull ache, and sometimes it gets me curled up in a ball for an entire day almost in pain. I can usually push through it. Definitely some of the videos you guys have seen, I looked happy, but I was probably in a lot of pain. So we've been trying to figure out what's been going on, and we've scanned pretty much all my organs.
Yeah, we've done fluoroscopy, we've done H. pylori tests, we've done ultrasounds, a hydroscan of the gallbladder, number of blood tests. I mean, you name it, we've done it. And the past week he had a couple of pretty big procedures done to actually look around in there and try to figure out what's going on, because all of the tests that we have done up to this point have come back normal.
They have found a few things that are off this time, so maybe we're getting in the right direction for some answers, but we don't have any yet, but we'll let you guys know once we know what's going on.
So basically we're going to be here in Florida until we've got an answer and we've got a path to move forward. So please keep your fingers crossed for us. Send us your good vibes. We'd really appreciate it.
So when we hit the road, we were in good health as far as we knew, and we had really hoped that we could just stay away from the doctor. That was basically our goal. We didn't particularly like our doctor or the healthcare system that we dealt with where we lived previously, so we basically cut all ties to that.
Yep, we went and requested all the documentation, which is good anyway to do, even if you have a good relationship with your doctor before you hit the road. But we requested all that information, and we scanned it so we have all of our medical documents with us on the road. That's
probably the first thing we would recommend for people traveling full-time, is to have all of your medical records personally. Have them yourself. Every time we have a procedure done, go to a doctor, something like that, we always request the medical records, and we scan them digitally, and we have everything so that if we need to go to another doctor, you almost always have to recount the story in the case of trying to figure this out, or just they want to know your past, and you can have it all right there to give them. So health wasn't really an issue. We were basically, we try to eat healthy, we stay plenty active, and basically do all the things that try to keep you away from the doctor, basically.
Yeah, no broken bones or anything like that.
But broken bone wise, I mean, even if you do have an injury, basically, there's urgent cares all across the country. It's just not that hard to get help. So medical wise, for an emergency or an injury, health is really not that big a deal. Getting something diagnosed, however, that you don't know what it is can be a little bit more difficult when you're traveling on the road.
And an urgent care doctor is not like a primary care doctor. You know, they see a lot of different people a day, and the chances of you getting that same doctor, if you even go back to that same urgent care, is pretty slim. So when you are trying to diagnose a bigger problem, you really have to go and see someone maybe multiple times.
We did start out, however, with urgent care doctors, because we had no idea what was going on. We hoped that maybe it was just, acid reflux or something like that. We did go and see an urgent care doctor, and he was able to order a handful of tests. And recommend a handful of tests as well. We basically started out by getting a handful of these tests ourselves, actually. Another thing that you can do is you can actually order some of your own labs. We use a site called walkinlab.com where you can basically go and you can select different blood tests or other tests even, and have them done at LabCorp or Quest diagnostic centers across the entire country. We found this to be really helpful because sometimes buying the labs outright yourself is a lot more cost effective than going through your insurance and dealing with the healthcare system. So that's been really helpful for some of our testing as well.
So those tests were either recommended to us by an urgent care doctor that he gave us a bunch of different options. Basically, if this doesn't work, then you can try this. Completely understanding our mobile situation and that we would be moving out of his area soon. So he kind of set us up so that we have a number of different options that we could pursue on our own going forward. But in general, I feel like healthcare on the road, you really have to take command of it yourself because, that urgent care doctor, as soon as we walk out the door, he's got about 50 other people that he has to worry about. So you're not going to get that follow-up and that thorough investigation from a doctor that you might going to a primary care physician or something like that. So you really have to take control of it. You have to do the research and you have to schedule your own things.
Having dealt with this issue now, and basically we've had to come to Florida to set up with a handful of doctors that we're going to be able to stay in touch with now as we travel because we didn't have that before. So if you have a primary care physician that you like, I'd really recommend trying to talk with them and see if they'd be willing to do consultations over the phone, if they can even order some tests. This is something you need to look into. If they can order tests that you can do out of state, I don't know if you can do that. I know that sometimes if they order a test and you take the requisition somewhere out of state, they might not accept it because state medical license stuff. But if they recommend some tests, you could use the walk-in lab type of stuff and get your tests done anywhere.
But another thing that you're going to have to consider as you travel, which is kind of obvious and is probably the second most frequently asked question that we get, is what do you do about health insurance? You're going to have to really look at the plans available, depending on what's available to you. But check out your health insurance plans. When we first started out, feeling healthy and all that stuff, we definitely went with a catastrophic plan, not anticipating that we would have to use any of it. But also a part of that health insurance plan was that it was a nationwide plan. So that meant that we had doctors in our network across the entire country that would go towards our deductible.
Because we are self-employed, we get our healthcare through the healthcare.gov marketplace currently. And choosing between a high deductible catastrophic plan versus a higher premium plan, even knowing we've had some of these health issues, we've still gone with higher deductible plans because we've really weighed the cost of the premium that we'd pay versus the cost of the deductible. And a lot of times it kind of ends up to be a wash with the high deductible plans. So definitely look into that and consider that, okay, if I have to have a $6,000 deductible, but I'm going to end up spending almost $6,000 in premiums anyway, you know, the chance that you might not have to use that could save you money in the long run. So that's been kind of the reasoning that we've always gone with the high deductible plans. And it's definitely cost us a lot for all this testing and everything that we're doing. But if we had a high premium plan and we met our deductible sooner, we would still end up having to pay a lot of money in the premiums and everything. So for us, we've always gone with the high deductible plans.
Something new with our health insurance plan this year, though, is that they've switched from nationwide PPO plans to basically you don't have nationwide doctors anymore. So that was another reason why we really wanted to establish some doctors here, you know, expecting that, you know, there might be something that we might have to come back here for, but honestly, a flight back to Florida to have work done in network with our doctors here, you know, that's not unreasonable when you're talking about the cost of premiums and the cost of the actual procedure. So
it also depends on kind of like what you're having done, because like if I have surgery that's going to cost $20,000, that flight's definitely going to make sense. But a simple test that's only a couple $100, you know, it might just make sense to do it out of network anyway, and then just have it put towards the insurance. So, you know, health insurance, there is no right answer. It's been tough for us to figure out what's right. And I don't think we've got it right every time, but...
No, health insurance is so confusing. I remember when we first started, I spent hours trying to figure out, you know, everything that our plan included and everything that I needed to do to sign up for it. And even now, I mean, we're starting to get, since we've been doing this more, you know, there's differences in how they categorize things, preventative versus diagnostic. And that subtle difference could be the difference of whether it's covered by your insurance or not. So it might be the same procedure, but the reason that they're doing it might not be covered. So it's very complicated, and we really, you can try to spend your time to understand it all, but it might not be worth it in the end.
Ultimately, all that complication isn't just with the health insurance, though. The actual health systems can be so incredibly complicated. You know, having these tests done, especially as we're traveling, we've been getting bills from just like every which way, because there's so many fingers in the health pie of this country right now. And it's definitely been difficult, and traveling and seeing so many doctors in so many places has just made it even more complicated. So another reason to try to stick with one doctor if you can.
Yeah, try to centralize it.
Yeah, definitely.
So healthcare is definitely something that you should consider when you're hitting the road. At least have some rough guidelines of what you think you might do should something come up. Always have a plan B. But, you know, even if you don't, we didn't, and we managed to figure it out. So it can be very stressful, and it can be very worrisome when you're, you know, all the way across the country from maybe your family and your home base, and you're having to deal with these medical issues. We hope that this video helps you with some tips and some things to think about in order to plan and prepare should something like that happen.
As always, thank you guys so much for watching and your support. Once we figure out what's going on here, I'll definitely let you guys know, probably make another video. I'll also put it in the comments below so that you guys know what's going on.
Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.